This is a Talk Station original podcast.
You are announcing you're going to run for U.S. Congress, Congressional District 1. When did you make the decision and why?
Well, I had been thinking about running for Congress for some time, and of course, certainly needed to finish out my career as sheriff. And as everybody knows, the legislature redrew the maps, and those new maps have only been out for about a month, redrawing the 1st and the 3rd congressional district. And so ever since that new map came out, I've been looking at that and considering it, and just kind of taking the pulse of the race. There have been a number of folks that were previously already running for this district, and there were some other people who announced their intentions to run, and there have been a number of people who were thinking about running, including some folks right here in Carteret County. And I hadn't fully decided at that particular time, and didn't really know if it was the right time for me to go off and do one thing and make an attempt and to leave the sheriff's office. And but everything just kind of come together. Some of the folks who were thinking about running for Carteret County decided not to, and I feel like that I have things in place where I can make a transition. I'm going to endorse my chief deputy, John Nyberg. I will be endorsing him to be the next sheriff of Carteret County. John has worked with me for many years. He's been my chief deputy for 2 years, so we have a good command staff in place, and we have a good thing going here in the sheriff's office. And I feel comfortable letting John take over if the voters see fit. And that was a big part of my decision. I wouldn't leave the sheriff's office if I didn't think that things were in a good position to have a smooth transition. And so with looking at the new maps and just considering all factors, when I ran for sheriff, I wanted to do something to make a difference right here in this county. And I've been the sheriff here for 19 years. I feel like I've accomplished more than I ever dreamed that we would way back in 05 and 06 when I was campaigning to run for sheriff. And nobody can stay in any one particular office forever. And so I just considered that it was time to turn the page on this chapter and begin a new chapter. And I want to take the skills and experience that I've developed over the years in public service and expand that on a broader level and support all the people of Eastern North Carolina. Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated, doesn't make any difference. One thing, when I was running for sheriff, I always used to tell people, they'd ask me how I'm registered to vote, and I'd say, well, if I'm going to be your sheriff, when a deputy pulls in your yard, he don't ask you how you're registered to vote, he's there to help. And that's the way I've conducted myself as sheriff. I don't look at things politically based on people's political affiliations. If people need help, then we're there to help them. And I would do the same thing as a congressman working in the United States Congress. Obviously, there are political aspects to being in the Congress or the state legislature, that type of thing. But when it comes to constituent services, you serve all the people, regardless of their political affiliations. And, being in the United States Congress is kind of a cool role. You have to look at national issues and those types of things, but you got your folks back home, you got your district that you have to look after and try to support your people, and that's certainly paramount in my mind.
Looking at the district, which is significant, some 23 counties, one of the largest districts in the state, do you feel comfortable as far as the knowledge of the region, Eastern North Carolina, your background here in Eastern North Carolina, does that prepare you?
Yeah, I certainly think it does, and I've been the sheriff of Carteret County, but I haven't spent all my time in Carteret County. And I've traveled all across this area. I know all the sheriffs in these areas. I know a lot of folks in these areas. When you're talking about Eastern North Carolina, especially in our district, we're talking about our military interests and our veterans. Certainly we have a lot of coastal issues that we have to look at, especially looking after our commercial fishermen. Back when they had the shrimp gate issue, I was one of two sheriffs. There was Sheriff Sam Pace from Rockingham County was there, but coastal sheriffs, myself and the sheriff from Hyde County, Guadalupe, we were up there in Raleigh working with everybody to try to defeat that shrimp trawl ban. And so, I got a lot of commercial fishermen. I'm their sheriff right here in Carteret County. And so I've been representing these folks for 19 years as their sheriff, and I'm certainly going to continue to do that if I'm honored to win this congressional race. And, we have farmers that we have to look after in this area, and business folks, especially small business. Small business is the heart of the American economy. And, people go up there and they're in elective office in Washington, D.C. They need to try to find a way. The government has to do certain things, especially national defense, interstate road system, those types of things, monetary policies. But the government needs to do things to help people, to help business owners, to create an environment which is helpful to entrepreneurship. Other than that, the government needs to be out of the way. We don't need more regulation. We need less regulation. We need to let the American people exercise their freedoms, and the people of the folk are what makes this country great, not the government. Oftentimes, the government is not the solution to a problem. It's more contributes to the problem. And that's the way I've always looked at things, and I think that's the way people in Eastern North Carolina look at things.
Have you spoken to members in the Republican Party, but also possibly major contributors? Have you had the opportunity to do that? How much time have you put into the phone calls, the listing campaign for your congressional campaign? What have you heard?
Well, yeah, I've talked to a number of people, on all sides of what you said. Politically affiliated folks, some donors. I just recently fully committed to making this decision, and so I didn't think it was right to go around and talking to a load of people and saying, hey, here's kind of what I'm thinking. And once I made up my mind, I made up my mind. I mean, you kind of got to get in the race before you. Right. If anybody sits back and they want to kind of gauge their level of support just saying that they're thinking about doing something, then that's really not very effective. You got to jump in the race and see how it shakes out. And we don't even know everybody who's going to file. We've had some folks, made an announcement. I've made an announcement, but the rubber doesn't meet the road until you put your name on the line when you actually file. And so, but with the folks that I've talked to over the past few days, and with making the announcement this morning, I mean, my cell phone's been blowing up right and left, and it really makes me feel good. I feel like I have a strong base of support in this area. I think people have seen what I and we have done together. I hate to say I so much because we have accomplished a lot in this sheriff's office and working with the community and with any number of things across the state. My work through the Sheriff's Association. We've done a lot over 19 years, and it shows, and it's made a difference. And people know that it's made a difference. And this hasn't just been running the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office. This has been a much broader issue. We tackled the prescription drug issue way back in the very beginning when other people weren't even talking about it. We created a appeal turn-in program that nobody else was doing that was modeled across the state. I and others have made Carteret County a treatment-centered county with regard to law enforcement and everybody involved in that area trying to get treatment for people, education and prevention, especially for young people, and strict enforcement of drugs. And I'm very proud to say that Carteret County leads the entire state of North Carolina in prosecuting death by distribution cases. So I, as the sheriff, and building friendships and partnerships with any number of different people and organizations, we've taken these issues head on, which nobody ever saw coming, and we've dealt with them in the best manner that we could, and we've made a difference. This is like I said, when I ran for sheriff, when I was first running for sheriff back in 05 and 06, knocking on all those doors, I never could have dreamed how all this would have worked out. I mean, it was my dream to be the sheriff, and I knew I wanted to work hard and make a difference. But it's been more to it than I ever could have dreamed. And so I think that we've made a tremendous difference here. And I've got a lot of knowledge and experience. I've learned a lot along the way. I've learned a lot about the legislative process just being a member of the Sheriff's Association Executive Committee and working with the legislature since 2011, studying bills and working with the legislature to prevent bad law from being enacted and working to get good laws enacted to protect the office of sheriff and protect public safety. And so, as I said, I've learned a lot along the way, and I feel that I'm very well positioned to take that knowledge and experience and hopefully apply some of that common sense in Washington, D.C.
What is the procedure on the retirement aspect of this, Sheriff? And then you are endorsing your chief deputy as your potential successor.
Yes, I'm very proud to endorse my chief deputy, John Nyberg. Chief Nyberg retired out of the Highway Patrol as a captain. He came to work with our office 9 or 10 years ago. He was one of my lieutenants in the jail and helped me run the jail for a number of years. And about 2 years ago, I made him my chief deputy. And he has assisted me in running the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office for about 2 years now. And he has done a phenomenal job. We have a fantastic command staff. We have a wonderful group of men and women who serve this office and serve the public. And I feel very comfortable in endorsing John Nyberg to be the next sheriff of Carteret County, and I hope that people will support him. That was one of my major deciding factors in stepping out and being willing to step away from the office of sheriff to run for Congress. If I didn't feel like somebody was waiting in the wings that could create a smooth transition, then I would seek to continue being the sheriff of the county. Mm-hmm. And right up until the past few weeks, that was what I was going to do. That was my intention. And but here again, with the new congressional maps that came out and my other deciding factors, that's what's led me to decide to run for Congress. But I feel very comfortable endorsing John Nyberg to be the next sheriff of the county. Now, as far as my retirement, here again, I've just made this decision, relatively recently. I'm eligible to retire with a full retirement, 30 years of creditable service at the end of December. And so you have to submit retirement paperwork, and that generally takes a few months to process. And so, at some point in time, I will be doing that, and that process will move forward. And at some point next year, then I will retire from sheriff, and hopefully win the primary in March, and be able to focus solely on moving on to November and ultimately winning the general election.
Okay, so really, timing of all of this is very important. Timing for you to get your paperwork in, timing also for you to go through the process of making the arrangements for a transition so that you can pursue your campaign for U.S. Congress.
Yes.
That's very interesting. I didn't even consider that. Sheriff, I really appreciate your time today, and congratulations on 19 years of, actually more than, 19 years as sheriff, but how many years were you also a deputy?
I've been in the sheriff's office for over 27 years.
Okay.
Yep, 19 in December it'll be exactly 19 years.
All right. So, and you started out as a deputy sheriff.
Yes.
There's a lot of changes in those years.
Way back in 1998. Yep.
Wow. All right.
It's been a fantastic run. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I've loved serving the people of Carteret County, and I hope to continue serving the folks of Carteret County and everyone else in this district. So it's a lot of counties. It's a big area. It's a quarter of the state. And I love the people of Eastern North Carolina, and so my heart is with them, and I've got a proven track record of serving the folks, and looking to continue that on a larger level.